All right, I'm going to give this a beat and see if we actually show up on Instagram. Had some issues in the past. There we are. We are live on Instagram. Hello, everyone. Hope all are well today. Got a lot of stuff to cover, actually. A number of topics, some solemn news a little bit near the end. But what I'm going to go through today is a few things. I'm going to go through a box opening of the Hamsters versus Hippos production sample that arrived. So this is kind of the moment, right? If there's any changes you need to make, now is the time to identify it, because you go to full production at this point. And if hopefully, fingers crossed, everything looks good, we might be able to actually deliver to our backers earlier on that campaign than was originally scheduled, which would be just phenomenal. Second thing, we had something really cool that a backer had done for me on the Nutty Squirrels campaign. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to open that live, which I am super stoked about. Going to talk a little bit about an upcoming campaign we have. And then lastly, again, as I said, we have some tough news that we'll talk about at the end of this episode. So stay tuned. We're probably in here for a good 15 minutes, I would say. Welcome to everybody joined so far. Board Game Mamam. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm so sorry, but welcome. All right, let's start off with Hamsters versus Hippos. I'm just going to put my Do Not Disturb on here. Okay, so here we are with the box. It came from our manufacturer in China. I'm going to switch to what I call my T-Rex cam, because you can see my little arms are down here like this, so I look like a T-Rex. That's why I call that the T-Rex cam. All right, so I get my little trusty X-Acto out here, and let's see what these guys sent. I can see through the bubble wrap already. Some improvements we made to the art, which I'm really excited about. And I'll take a look at that. Yeesh. Try not to cut myself. All right. All right. We're getting there, slowly but surely. I just don't want to dent the box, because if there's anything like wrong with the box, I want to be clear that it's something that I didn't do myself, that they actually did in putting it together. Like if there's like a scratch in the artwork or something like that. Let's see here. Ooh. Move that over there. I gotta admit, that looks pretty awesome. This looks pretty awesome. So some of the things we changed, and if any of you joining or watching live are backers, you would recognize this, but this is kind of the production sample. We adjusted the kind of the nameplate at the top. It was kind of blurry before. Cleaned up the artwork a bit, and took away some of like unnecessary drop shots we had around the logos and so forth, but it looks awesome. The one thing that drives me absolutely bananas, that anybody that knows me would recognize, is the fact that I really hate it when a manufacturer does this. When they put the lid on, they put it on upside down. So that's one thing I'm going to mention when we chat later on. I really don't like it when the lid is on upside down. Maybe it's OCD, I don't know, but it's not my fave. All right, let's see how this opens. Open. Sesame. Well, we've got a tight lid. That's good, I think. Let me move this mic out of the way. One might argue too tight, but we'll see. There we go. There we go. Good God, man. There we are. Okay. That was an exercise and a half. Hello, thank you, Reniodro Sinu, for joining us. All right, so we're just doing a box opening of production sample of Hamsters vs. Hippos, as well as going through some other stuff. So right away I see something missing. We should have printing on the inside of the lid. Not there. That is a problem. The thermal tray is always added at the end, right? So the thermal tray, at this stage, you'll never get that, because what they want to do is make sure if there's any tweaks you need to do, that they can do those tweaks and then make sure everything fits the tray just perfectly. So these are pre-cut into a sleeve, which is awesome. We were looking at a couple other manufacturers that were potentially going to go at lower cost, but every single one of them wanted to do punch boards. The problem with this game, because you're flipping tiles over and discovering, trying to discover where the hippos are, if you punch this out yourself, there's going to be these little hanging chads where the actual tile sticks to the punch out board, that if you don't do it just perfectly, those will give micro tears. And then you're in a situation where people can tell which tile is which is not great. So for us, it was absolutely essential that these were fully cut and sleeved like you have here. So I think that's awesome. These are the player boards, which look great. And they are linen finish. So I'm going to see if I can open that. Again, everything is sleeved, so I just put a dent in it. All right, we're going to try this another way. Try this another way. There we go. Shame on me for not being careful. So these don't have to be as thick, because they're really just on the table in front of you to mark where the actual flowers go when you collect them. But they look super awesome. So as you can see, holds up the camera, they are linen finish. I don't know if you can catch that in the reflection. It's a nice linen finish. Not super thick, but again, by design, because they just sit on the table in a place for you to kind of place your pieces and mark them. We adjust the colors on the knapsacks, because one of the concerns was that the meeple colors didn't really match the bags, but I think it's pretty clear. This is orange, that's purple, red, yellow, blue, and green. We did put a poll out to a lot of our backers, because I know a lot of times people say, well, you can't have, with color blindness, you shouldn't have green and blue pieces in a game together. So we threw that out to everyone and said, like, look, this is a concern. How do you guys want to vote? And overwhelmingly, because some people's favorite token piece is green, others is blue, we went with both. So we went with basically what people voted for. But those look really, really nice. I'll put those in there. The booklets. So this was what we call a cluster F last time we did a campaign. So this right here, so this is why you get a production sample, folks. This is exactly why you get a production sample. This is the base of the tray. This over here is the lid. Now, typically you don't need to do artwork on the base, because that's where the thermal tray is going to go. But you do need it on the lid. So something got lost in communication between different departments. They put the artwork that's supposed to be on the lid in the base. What this means is they have to create a whole new production sample for us to sign off on and send to us before we sign off on it, because we need proof from their end that they've done this properly. But I really like how that turned out. So this is one of the upgrades we did on the campaign, was to have, like, you're looking up from under the water and you've got the hamsters on the lily pads looking down, peeking at you, which I thought was kind of cool. So that turned out really well. These are the books. So one thing we're doing for this campaign, there was so much, I'm still dealing with it on Hamsters versus Hippos, which is super annoying. But they had, we had German books made. For German Italian books for some of our backers. And we said, hey, you know, during the Pledge Manager, if you want a German, hey, thanks T. Winger for joining. If you want a German Spanish book or German Italian book, add it during the Pledge Manager, and we'll send you a separate book, and then you can just swap it out in the box. What happened at the manufacturing plant is they made 19 extra books, right? Because you always make more than you need in case something is torn or whatever. You can replace it. So someone at the factory, one of the factory workers, looked at it, again, not able to actually read what it says, thought, oh, that's the same as these other things over here, took the extra 19 and just threw it in with the regular batch. So what we end up having is there's 19 backers somewhere in the world. When they get their Night Squirrels game, it doesn't have English, French instructions in it. It has German, Italian. We're sending out books still, so when they identify and let us know, we send them a book right away. They get it that week, but it still is a significant inconvenience for the backer and for us. The backers have been awesome. They've been super awesome, just in accommodating, saying, hey, I get it. If you can get me a new book, that'd be great. Give me a digital one in the meantime. Awesome. So what we're doing for this campaign, as I said, screw it. We will put the translated books, all the translated books, in every box. You throw out what you don't need. A little bit of a waste, but if you look at the extra costs and transportation costs we had to fix that other error, this is the more elegant solution. So these are the books. So we have this one here is Hamsters versus Hippos. So this is, I think, Italian, German. So what we did is it's like this accordion, right? And then when you flip it over on the inside, it's another language. So we've got German, Italian. We got, I think this is Spanish, Portuguese. No, this one's French, English. Yeah, this is why we do this. All right, so this is good. Typically, you would have this is for our Canadian backers. Our population, we have a bilingual country. We've got English and French, but most French speakers are pretty much located in one province, and it represents like 20-25% of our population. The backers, though, it only represents like a handful of our backers. So we're just doing this because legally we were required to if we ever want to sell these at retail, but it's really for a handful of backers. So what I would prefer to see when I open this up is English first and then the French on the back. And it looks like they did not do that. It looks like they did the French on one side, on the forward-facing side, and English on the back. So we're going to have them change that. Not a biggie, but that's why we do this live. And it's tough to do. They want to send you digital photos, obviously, because it's cheaper than sending you physical copies to look at, and cuts down on a lot of time. However, I don't know if I would have even caught that without having this physically in my hand. Nice thick books. I'm impressed. This paper's thick, which is cool. So that's Hamsters versus Hippos. That is a manufacturer's proof copy for sign off. Now, I am assuming these are hand folded and glued, which is why the fit was insanely snug. But you want to do things like check, make sure you have your CE markings on, and make sure you actually have the proper address. Make sure your UPC code works. It's a number of times I've seen UPC codes on boxes where people, hey, Art Gale, welcome. When you see UPC on a box, always test it, because if just one of these little bars is missing, and I'm looking at this artwork, and that's what appears to me is that there's some bars missing there, I need to scan that. And if that doesn't scan properly, then you've got a problem, right? Because you're gonna have a problem if you ever go to retail. So these are little things that are important to make sure that you check into. Overall, the quality of the artwork and the printing, I am more than happy with. I think it looks phenomenal. I really do. I'm really, really happy it was landed. Some tweaks that we're going to do. So I'm going to communicate they put the inside artwork on the base instead of the lid. I'm going to communicate to them, again, the English on the one booklet. I'm going to open up these tiles later and go through them all and just make sure they're all good. I'm sure they are. But we are well on our way to getting there. I do still need to see meeples. I do still need to see the tokens to make sure that they're good as well. But we're at a good spot. This was a good start. Okay, Hamsters versus Hippos. That is that. Now, the next thing I want to look at, and again, that just is a nice snug fit. I love that box. Next thing we're going to talk about is, I had a backer, Ron Hyatt, who was doing 3D printing. So we did 3D models for our Night Squirrels of the Oakwood Forest campaign. Our hope was if we hit certain levels, we were actually just going to include those in the game as an add-on, but we ended up not being able to do that. So what we did is we just provide the STL files and said, hey, if anybody has 3D printers and they want to print them themselves, they're free to do so. he sent me pictures of some of the ones he did, and I'm like, I don't even have a 3D printer myself. And so I said, you know, what can you help? Like, I'd love to get copies of these models. Is there any way you could print some for me? And he was more than excited to do that at no charge. I ended up sending him one of our other games just as a thank you, because he's very, very generous in doing this for me. But this is the models, so we're going to take a look at this live for the first time, and I am absolutely stoked. These are going to go on the shelf behind me, and I'm not really a model painter. I know there's a lot of you out there that do paint models, but I'm going to maybe start and paint these, because I think if these are painted, they're going to look crazy awesome. Oh, he taped that up really good too. Okay. How do I open this box? All right, we're going to peel the tape. When in doubt, peel the tape. Ah, there. All right. And cut there. Cut there. And we're going to cut along there. I know it's really compelling content here, watching somebody cut a box. But trust me, what's inside, it's going to be worth it. I'm excited. We spent so much time on this campaign. And even these 3D models, the amount of time spent on these 3D models, I don't want to swear, but holy crap, that looks awesome. Wow. You will have like little hanging chads and things like that. That's what you get when you 3D print. But what you do is use a knife to go through and clean up some sandpaper. But so this is the baby squirrel. Look how awesome that is. That is just so cool. So that guy's orange. We're going to get him printed off. So put that there. Again, kudos to Ron. Thank you so much, man. This made my day. Yeah. So this is the crazy uncle squirrel we had. We call him Dumpster. This is the white squirrel. Oh man, that looks so cool. Dude. All right. Board Game Hat joined. Welcome. You'll see on the replay, we just finished doing the Hamsters versus Hippos production sample opening. Now we're doing these 3D printed models that Ron Hyatt did for me of our characters from the Night Squirrels of the Oakwood Forest game. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to paint these. I gotta. They're just too good not to. So that's another hobby I'm going to get into. Any of you guys out there do paintings? Drop a comment. I know there's a lot of minis, people that do minis, like a lot of the battle ones and so forth. Oh, that's cool. This one is the one we call Hero Squirrel. He was kind of like the main character. He's the brown squirrel. Look at that. That's so awesome. The one thing Ron says, like, these are going to be a little bit big. I don't know. Like, I can get more detail if I make them larger. But I'm not sure if you'll actually play with them in the game, because I know the cards in the game are smaller. And I said, Ron, make them as big as you want, because he's going on my shelf. I'm going to stare at these every day, because they bring me absolute joy. Yeah. So this one we called Sly. So he's the thief. There's a red squirrel. And we got one more. And then I'm going to kind of put these all on the table, laying face up so you guys can see them. Heading into the weekend. Any of you guys playing games this weekend? I'm thinking of going to a meetup tonight and play, because I haven't played in a couple weeks. This is what we call a grumpy squirrel. Yeah, I hear you, board game hat. Yeah, it's tough. That's the risk, eh? When you try to paint, you've never painted before, and if you don't have the right paints and the right materials, like it can look bad. So I don't know, I'm a little bit hesitant, but this is Bobby Fiorentino called this guy. We were saying Grumpy Squirrel, and he called him Grampy Squirrel. So Grampy Squirrel, and he's like, "You bring back my acorns, you kids, you crazy kids." So there you are, Ron Hyatt. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, man. You made my day. That is just, it's just so awesome. You're a good dude, man. Thank you. All right, next up, we have, I'm going to talk a little bit about the campaign we have coming, which is Planting Evidence, which is behind me. If any of you guys are not following us yet, if you could kindly follow us on Kickstarter, or even just go in our link tree here and sign up for our newsletter. That's the best way to get information. Planting Evidence. This game is going to be coming up at the end of the month. We've actually made a decision that we're going to go on GameFound. So I don't know how many of you realize this because it was just announced, but GameFound from Awaken Realms, they had like their own version of Kickstarter that they created that was specifically just for board games. And they've been, trialing it over and over again. And they finally said, okay, we're ready. We're going to go launch a beta for the public. So they just launched like literally a week ago, said, okay, anybody in the public that wants to use our platform for crowdfunding, giddy up. So we, right away, I said, you know what? I think we will probably, I know it's not as big of a platform as Kickstarter, but they are exclusively board games. And from what I can see, anytime, even in social media like this, anytime Instagram or, TikTok or any of these guys launch a new feature, the faster you jump on it, the greater chance you have of reaping the benefits of being an early adopter. And I see GameFound as the same thing. I think that although BackerKit doesn't plug into it, GelUp doesn't plug into it, so we're probably gonna have to do our own social media ads. They do have some marketing within their platform, not as robust as Kickstarter, but you have way less competition, so you should technically have more eyeballs. So we're gonna launch this on GameFound. Another thing it allows you to do is actually as a preview link, you go to Kickstarter right now, my preview link, it's basically just a thumbnail saying coming soon, right? Follow us. The follow us on GameFound is, and again, we're still setting up the financials and stuff, so it's going to launch soon. You'll be able to see the entire campaign. You'll be able to see everything, like in a countdown clock. We're 2 weeks away, 1 week away, 2 days away until they actually launch. They have built-in incentives for people that follow. So if you follow the campaign early to say, yeah, notify me when this goes live, just by signing up, there's incentives. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that they've got built into their platform that I'm excited to try. And I'm going to try it with this. Castle Burgundy remake coming to GameFound. So that's going to increase GameFound soon. Yeah, no kidding. So I think you're going to see a lot of games starting to kind of port over. Because we are launching, I literally have the entire Kickstarter page built. But we're porting over to GameFound. I'm going to try it. Maybe it crashes and burns. I don't know. I don't think so. I think we'll get probably more eyeballs than we're getting on the Kickstarter side. For this one, we're not dumping a ton of money into marketing, just because quite frankly, Hamsters versus Hippos drained us. So that's one where we need to kind of use to kind of replenish the war chest, so to speak. We are working on a game for the fall, which Adam and I are crazy excited about, which we think is just going to be awesome and build a lot of excitement. So for that game, we want to make sure we have a war chest for that one to do proper marketing. So GameFound would be a good low-risk Planting Evidence, low-risk trial there. So what is Planting Evidence? So anybody that likes to play cards, rummy-style cards where you're matching sets, this has kind of what I call it's like a 3-point play. One play is you're trying to plant evidence. You're using cards. You're matching fingerprint partials to make full fingerprints, license plate partials to make full license plates. And you're trying to plant evidence on other players. So you are all criminals. A murder's has occurred, and you are trying to frame essentially the other players for murder. And to do that, what you're doing is as you're picking up cards, you're matching cards, you're placing the evidence down, you're planting evidence on the other players. At the same time, the second piece you can do is as players are planting evidence on you, you can use some of the evidence to build alibis, to try to kind of erase some of the evidence against you. At the end of the round, points are all tallied up, and that score goes against each player. The first player to cross 300 points is essentially triggers the end of the game, and at that point, whoever has the most points is framed for murder. So the third kind of point in this game is you have to really balance, when am I going to push us over 300? So say I'm playing against Bob. Hey, welcome, Eduju. French, great. If I'm going to push Bob over, for instance, the 300 mark, well, if I'm not in the lowest score position, I still lose. So what you'll have this case is there's a lot of take that, where people might start ganging up on one player, but then as soon as that player gets to 300, you'll see people shift and say, oh my gosh, we can't push that player over because we're not in the lowest position. Okay, let's move our efforts over to this person here. So you get a lot of that back and forth dynamic, which is just awesome. It's a fun game to play. And you can play it in under an hour with, say, 3 to 4 people. So we're thinking about toying with adding a 5th player. It's a 2 to 4 player game. For Kickstarter specifically, we may add a 5th player kind of cards and markers that would be thrown in the box as an add-on. Additionally, Kickstarter exclusive we're doing on this game is enamel coated brass tokens. So these are player markers. There's going to be 2 of them. One which will be the forensics expert, and one will be framed for murder. So after you play a game, whoever is framed for murder gets that token. The person who's a forensics expert, who essentially wins, lowest score, they get the other token. And then if you play another game, now you know who is who. And what you do is at the start of the game, kind of like in the game of A-Hole, whoever lost a prior game gets the best cards from the person that won the prior game, right? So the murderer and the forensics expert, first hand, if any of them have wild cards, they have to give it to the other player, give it to the person that lost to give them a leg up. So that's planting evidence. Very, very excited about it. Please follow it. There's a link again in the link tree on this Instagram page, as well as on Facebook. I'll put a link in the show notes because this is live on Facebook right now, I believe, as well. And we'll put a link in the show notes. Secondly, if any of you are watching, if you are not currently following our TikTok channel, we need followers because I want to start being able to do these lives as well, streamed over there. Simply go to @TinRobotGames is our handle on TikTok. We could use your follow. Really appreciate it. And then lastly, as we mentioned, we have some pretty solemn news. This week we lost, I think, probably the oldest developer or designer in the industry. So Nadine Chestnut, right here, who did Queen of Scots. This is my grandmother. She was almost 104. Her 104th birthday was going to be on May 11th. It's been a tough week. And it's going to continue to be tough. We have a funeral this weekend, and we'll do our best to honor her. But man, she played this game every single day, and it started off with 2 decks of cards. And I played that when I was a kid, and she learned from her parents when she was a kid. So this game is literally 100 years old, these rules. And what we did for her 102nd birthday a couple years ago is we helped her publish it. So we had artwork done, took this idea of having 2 decks of cards, and in that game, the 2 queens in the deck were basically the highest score. So we thought, hey, kind of the Tale of 2 Queens, Mary Queen of Scots, Queen Elizabeth from history would be a great way to skin that game, and had some amazing artwork done. And with all the characters around that story and so forth. Again, it's a rummy style game, so if you like cards, you would love it, and you're matching sets. And that one, it's actually you win if you have the highest score in that particular game, the highest first person to 1,000. But I just wanted to say thank you to her for inspiring me to do what we do in this game. She's definitely been a beacon for our entire family, my entire life, and certainly has been a great moral compass for us. So she's going to be missed a great, great deal. I haven't figured out what we can do on the Queen of Scots side in the industry to honor her. I'm going to put some thought around that, but we'll try to figure something out. We don't want this game to go out of print, so I think we'll continue printing this game as long as we're in business. She would get a kick out of hearing every time I'd say, oh, a game was sold in Australia today. And she was just blown away by the fact that someone on the other side of the planet was playing her game. That just brought her such joy. So TMF board games, welcome. You're going to probably have to watch most of this on the replay because we've just spent, I think, 20 some odd minutes going through 4 different games, box openings, and so forth. Just finishing off, again, doing a thank you to Nadine Chestnut, who passed away this week. So that's all I got for you guys today. Keep tuning in. We're going to keep showing you anytime we get stuff, because I think this stuff is behind the scenes kind of interesting. It interests me when I see, how our production sample is done and so forth. What are the things you look for? And if all of you could, again, follow us on TikTok at Tin Robot Games, or follow our Planting Evidence campaign, it'd be greatly appreciated. Those links are in the link tree as well as the show notes on YouTube. Anyway, guys, you have yourself a fantastic afternoon. Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.